Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Commission on Connecticut's Development in the Future, our regular meeting on Monday, August 1st. Call our meeting to order at 3:02 p.m. And if we could have our clerk go through the attendance, please.
Jason Rojas, Martin Heft,
Present.
Norm Needleman, Anika Lamar, Donna Hamzy,
Present.
Steve Kleppen,
Present.
Lamond Daniels, Kylie Goslin, Benjamin Winograd,
Here.
Gregory Ugalde, Francis Pickering, Elizabeth Gara,
Here.
Steve Casano, Kristen McCarthy-Vahey,
Here.
Tony Wong,
Present.
Joseph Zulo,
Present.
Christine Cohen,
Present.
Joseph Gresco, Craig Miner, Stephen Harding, Rick Lopes,
Here.
Quentin Williams, Paul Ciccarella, Joe Paletta, Will Haskell, Roland Lamar, Heather Summers, Devin Carney, Timothy Hollister,
Here.
Aaron Kemple, David Barkin,
Here.
Alexandra Dom,
Present.
Jennifer Perry,
Present.
Randy Pincus,
Present.
David Elder. And then if you got here a little bit late or did not hear your name called, please say your name now. And that's the attendance.
Okay, thank you very much. Our first order of business is the approval of our June 6th meeting. If I could have a motion to accept those minutes, and if please just identify yourself when you make the motion or the second, please.
So moved. David Barkin.
And is there a second?
I'll second. It's Donna Hamzy.
Thank you. Is there any discussion on the minutes? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye or raise your hand on. Are there?
Aye.
Thank you. Any against? And abstentions will be myself because I was not at the meeting. Thank you. Thank you very much. We're going to go into working groups and hear some reports on what's happening. As you'll see on the agenda, we kind of have it broken down into two different areas, some detailed reports going into a little more depth of what's been going on with some of the working groups, and then short summary reports of the others. So if you're not the detailed report today, you'll know what you have forthcoming in the next couple of meetings. So our first is the Model Code and Design Development. I will call on Representative Zulu and David Barkin for whoever would like to start. Or
Thank you. Representative Zullo, would you like to start or should I jump into it?
I'll let you go first, David, but I appreciate the deference. Please, you can proceed.
So our working group's been pretty active since our last meeting of the CCDF. We met in the interim on 3 more occasions, June 17th, and July 8th, and then just this past Friday, July 29th. On the 17th, we heard a presentation by Leslie Oberholzer from Codometrics regarding form-based codes. She was her firm authored many form-based codes throughout the country. They're Chicago-based. Specifically, they worked on the rather comprehensive zone form-based codes for the city of Hartford. On the 8th, we held just an internal meeting of the different subgroups. We're broken into 3 sub-working groups: site and building, which I sort of chair that subgroup. We have implementation, which Pete Harrison is chairing as a subgroup, and then transportation, or rather streets, is hosted by Francis Pickering. All groups have met at least once, and we've started to formulate recommendations for consideration by the larger group, and realizing that there is some overlap between our subgroups, which is good. So we'll be able to pull together a comprehensive list of recommendations relatively soon. Our next, and on 7/29, the last meeting, we had a presentation by Stephanie Young of the U.S. Green Building Conference regarding lead for neighborhood development. The reason for that was we're looking at tools that might be available and already developed that could become part of this model code concept. And I don't think we've made any real determinations yet about that. Our next meetings will be on 9/9/22 and 9/30. So September 9th and September 30th. Some other things that we've that have happened amongst our group is we requested and received some research from OLR, providing for a number of questions our committee asked. So thank you, Ashley, for coordinating that for us. And then a broader question that might become part of a discussion for later here is, some of us are trying to understand how these efforts that we're making in a broader CCDF coincide or conflict with the Plan of Conservation and Development, which was recently updated. So it'd be good to have that discussion, I think, in the broader group one of these days. That is the extent of my detailed summary. Representative Zullo, do you have anything you'd like to add at this time?
That was an excellent summary. The only thing that I'll add additionally, just in focusing on that OLR report, was that one of the central parts, or one of the impetuses for that request for that report, was that, you know, it's a Herculean task to come up. I think all of us have these large tasks ahead of us. And part of our question was whether or not there was any funding or any other funding mechanisms in order to bring in third parties to assist. And what we're finding, unfortunately, is that while there are some limited avenues, the great deal of this work is probably is going to fall on all of the various people on these committees. So we're going to continue to, one of our subcommittees does have some potential funding options, which is great as far as assisting. That's the transportation, the streets subgroup. But we're going to continue to look for other avenues to get some other assistance because we want to produce something that's meaningful. And so to do that, it certainly requires some time and money. So we're going to continue to explore whether there's some money out there to help assist in that regard.
Good point, and thank you.
Terrific. Thank you both very much. Just one quick note on the state plan, conservation development. Obviously, after we'll be hearing on the state municipal statutory plan process and with the newly adopted old plan, as I kind of joke about, and that will be in the revision of, as we know, being updated. Part of that will be with the information that comes out of this commission to see what changes need to also be made into the plan. So there's definitely going to be that in a further discussion. So thank you for bringing that up, because that will be, I think, a future meeting agenda item as we kind of look at the way all of these are going to tie into the state plan and our other, not only the conservation development plan, but our other, state plans that we have. Does anyone have any questions for the model code work group? And if our clerk can just make sure that if someone's raising their hand or that I can't see that far away on the screen of everybody. So
I'll let you know when someone raises their
oh,
hand.
perfect. Thank you. Seeing none then, thank you both very much for that report. And if we can go into then the next one, municipal affordable housing plans, either Representative Lamar or Tim Hollister, or either of them.
This is Tim. I'm
Oh,
here.
there
I
you
did not hear Representative Lamar chime in, so I will take the lead. Maybe he'll join while I'm speaking. Good afternoon, everybody. Hope your summer is going well. Back on June 6th, we reported on the education and research process that our working group went through during the winter and spring, and our intent to start drafting a report. You may recall we distributed an outline, a sort of an informal consensus outline, not anything formal, but the outline that we had was distributed. And I'm glad to say that we have started drafting. I'm glad to say that it is already proving to be just a terrific team effort. I'm going to give a shout out to Betsy Guerra, who gave a wonderful effort in pulling together a couple of early sections that are now serving as a model for all the other portions that are to be drafted. But it's also obvious that we have a lot of discussion and drafting ahead of us. Meanwhile, I can update that approximately 100 towns have filed their plans, and another 50 or 55 have sent letters into OPM asking for an extension or explaining that they're working but have not filed yet. And obviously, it's quite a daunting task to try to read all of them. I and a few others on the working group are going to try to get to read every single one of them, because they are indeed a laboratory for us as to both things that we want to point out as really good templates and maybe some things that we might point out could be improved in future drafting. So I at the risk of trying not to repeat what I said on June 6th, I'll just highlight a couple things that have come to the forefront in our drafting process over the last 6-7 weeks. The first is that we're really going to try hard to make sure that this report is different and builds on recent events, most notably the 2021 amendments to 8-2, the Zoning Enabling Act, and the specific provisions about affordable housing, such as the standards for alternative dwelling units, the requirement that regulations advance the purposes of the Federal Fair Housing Act, restrictions on using community character as a basis in the non-physical sense as a basis to deny a zoning application, caps on multifamily units, revisions of parking standards, limits on excessive minimum floor area regulations. We're trying to get the point across, and this will obviously since this is the first document drafted since 2021, it will be the first to point out how all these requirements should be reflected in the municipal housing, affordable housing plans. So we will explain them and try to put them in a way that people can incorporate them into their reports and their plans and their regulations. At the same time, I will report that there's a very strong consensus and a good consensus, I think, on two things: that any recommendation of promoting affordable housing needs to be mindful of and respectful of open space preservation and environmental quality and the value of single-family home ownership, both as a land use and as a way to build equity and build wealth. So lest anybody be fearful, this is not going to be a report that says, affordable housing over all other concerns. I think we're going to strive, and we are striving to create a very balanced approach. And then the third, and this was, I think, one I mentioned on June 6th, but is again come to the forefront, that one size does not fit all. As we put pen to paper and we try to explain each of the individual items in the outline, it just become clear that urban, suburban, rural, and individual town versus regional all have different needs. So we are going to end up with a menu, and within that menu, we're going to try to identify which recommendations, options, steps are most appropriate for which type of municipality and region. So I think that's going to be a good approach. I'm going to cautiously, optimistically say that we will have a first draft of our report, maybe not ready for the limelight, but at least a first internal draft by the middle of September. All the sections of the report are being worked on in some fashion right now, and I think it's coming together very nicely. So I will stop there. And again, thank Betsy for your help. And if Representative Lamar is on, I will defer to him. Thank you, Martin.
Thank you, Tim. Greatly appreciated. I don't believe the representative is on, is he? No, he's not. Thank you, Tim. Two quick items, and then if others have something, thank you very much for that comprehensive report. So, just on the OPM side is that we have reached out to all the municipalities that have not filed or submitted a letter for their municipal affordable housing plan. So we did reach out to all of them last week and following up to get the rest of those in. And then I also just I've seen obviously some press that have been out there on regional affordable housing plans that some of the COGs are doing. And I didn't know if your work group had looked at any of those as well.
We have, and we're well aware of the lower, what's it called? The lower Middlesex County, the lower Connecticut River group and their efforts that were written about a couple days ago. And then the WestCog group has also been working on a regional plan, which I think is fairly far along. And, I think the bottom line, so to speak, is that these plans need to be adopted at the municipal level. And I think some of us are concerned, small c, that, a regional plan can paper over differences or create gaps. But I would just say that's a point of discussion. It's something we're going to look at carefully, but we are very much aware of those regional efforts. And if it's a regional effort that moves the process along more quickly, God bless it. So.
Great. Thank you, Tim. Appreciate that. Is there any other questions or comments for the Municipal Affordable Housing Group? Okay. Hearing none, then we will move on to our summary reports, and we'll go on to state and municipal statutory plan process with Representative Krista McCarthy-Vahey and Aaron Kemple. And just before they start, on behalf of the entire commission, we extend our sympathies to the representative for the loss in her family. So.
Martin, thank you very much, and I appreciate that tremendously. My update today will be fairly brief. The group last met, we've been meeting monthly, the group last met in mid-July. And at that point, we discussed with OPM help and support, looking at what other states do in creating and developing their process for a plan. And as the commission members or the working group members have been wonderful a number of folks have volunteered to help reach out to other states so that we can get some information from them. You probably remember from previous meetings that we've been looking at, first we heard from OPM, and then we have also spoken with municipalities about their plan process and the plans themselves, as well as our COGS and their process and the plan itself. And I think there's been some understandable frustration among some group members that we have had a lot of conversation about what's within the plans, and certainly have talked a lot about affordable housing, which is an issue of great interest in many ways, in lots of different conversations. But I think Mr. Hollister's comments were on point. Certainly the group is looking at all aspects of that planning process and those growth management principles that we have here in Connecticut and how that compares to some of the other states. So we too will be looking, as Rep. Lulu and Mr. Barkin talked about the OLR support. We're also going to be reaching out to the OLR for some support in that research, but again, I've had some great volunteers. We are not yet at the point of drafting anything. I think we're still kind of in the broad framework piece and hope to take all those things that we've discussed and learned and narrow those down to be able to create recommendations. Thanks. Back to you, Martin.
Thank you, Representative. I don't know if Erin is on, if she had anything she wanted to add. Is Erin on? Okay, great. Greatly appreciate the update, Representative. Is there any questions or comments from any of the members? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on then to the state coordinated housing plan. Is either Representative Williams or Kylie Goslin on?
Yes, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Representative. Good to see you.
Good to be seen. No, thank you for having us give this quick update. So we have met 4 times and are still actively engaged in tough but dynamic conversations. Our subgroup has assembled a draft set of recommendations, but we are still taking in more information to modify, correct, and expand these ideas. But there are currently 6 major subject areas that we are looking to discuss. The first being incorporating housing needs assessments. 2, tailoring plans to our communities. 3, identifying opportunities for preservation and rehabilitation. 4, addressing housing quality and healthy homes. 5, expanding housing quality and performance. And then the 6th and final one would be non-funding of housing strategies. We've done a lot of work and a lot of research and a lot of conversation on not just what the plan includes, but also what it does not include. So we think this is on the path of getting us to where we can go and should go. We're still discussing, and the group last met on July 12th, and the next meeting will be on September 5th. Excuse me, September 15th. So if there are any questions, I'll gladly take some.
Great. Thank you very much, Representative. Are there any questions on the Consolidated Housing Group? Terrific. Again, thank you very much. And we will move on then to sewerage, Senator Christine Cohen and Donna Hamsey.
Thank you very much. I'm happy to give the update on behalf of myself and my esteemed co-chair, Senator Cohen. So we have been, as of Thursday, been doing a real fact-finding, information gathering mission on the topic of sewerage. Our colleagues at both DEEP and DPH have been tremendously helpful in getting us up to speed on what is currently happening as it relates to water and sewer infrastructure in the state. And this past Thursday, we had our most recent meeting where DEEP and DPH did some work offline to come to us and present somewhat together in a together fashion for us to be able to ask questions on how they currently are coordinating when it comes to water and sewer infrastructure. And they were also kind enough to pose some recommendations from their perspective that they think will help to move us forward in sewer and water infrastructure in the state. So as a result, we've been able to, or are in the process of, thanks to Ashley Foreman's help, putting together a list of recommendations or initial recommendations that we are then going to distribute to our very talented subcommittee, lots of great experts and perspectives, and hoping to get some feedback via email to then inform our next meeting, which should be coming up probably at the beginning of the fall. I think the end of August is getting busy. So we should have some updates at our next meeting on October 3rd.
Terrific. Thank you very much, Donna. Are there any comments or questions?
I do. This
Yes,
is Tim
go ahead.
Hollister. Donna and Senator Cohen, I just want to alert you to, I think I can state this publicly. There is a law student at Yale named Nathan Cummings who is finishing up a absolutely stupendous paper on called Wastewater Funding and Urban Growth. I'll send you his contact information, but it covers a lot of the subjects that you're working on, and it's extremely well researched and written, as you would expect. So I think it would be a very good resource for your group, and I'll send it along to you.
Thank you very much, Attorney Hollister. We're looking for all the information to make the best recommendations, so we appreciate that.
And that's great. And that's a good reminder for everyone too, that if, just because you may be working on one particular working group, if there's something you see that will be helpful to another group, is to, reach out to those co-chairs and provide that information. Since overall we have to pull all this together, which will be coming up and a couple more agenda items on here. So thank you everyone for all of the reports. Moving on to business, we just wanted to report that our interim report that was due in July, we did get that out. Copies were sent out to all of the commission members, so that is done and been filed appropriately with everyone. And thank all of the co-chairs for getting reports into us for inclusion into that report. That will be helpful as we continue moving forward. The next section is a timeline review, looking at moving forward here until we have to have our final report in according to the Public Act. Representative Rojas and I discussed looking at the timeline, backing it out from when our final report is due in January of 24. And our plan is to have all the working group recommendations in by December of 2022. Look at then reviewing all those recommendations over that next 6-month period by July 1st, having our draft report September 1st, and then a final report on January 1st. So that's kind of our tentative guideline for the time frame. Obviously, also looking that we do have session that starts in January. So if we do have any legislative proposals that are going to be part of the recommendations, things that possibly could be implemented even before our final report is done, if there's certain recommendations we want to kind of do as part of an interim piece, we'd want to make sure that we have those for early December as well. So that way those can get reviewed and get into the legislative process. Does anyone have any questions on the timeline? Okay, then moving on, our next commission meeting is on October 3rd. So we've got a lot of work to do, and really appreciate all the work that the working groups are doing on that. And is there other business to come before the commission? Does anyone have any other business they need to bring up? Okay, not seeing any other public comment. We did have no one submit any public comment to us for the meeting today, so we can move right on to adjournment. And if we could have a motion to adjourn our meeting.
So moved.
And is there a second?
Second.
Second, great. And this is one of those items where I don't think there's discussion. So all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you all very much. Have a productive rest of the summer, and we will see all of you in October, if not before. Thank you very much.
Thank you.